Hey, this is Dr. Shane Nussbaum again, and I wanted to tell you a little bit more about psychological and neuropsychological assessment. Most people have never in their lives had either a psychological or a neuropsychological assessment, and so if this has been recommended to you or you're thinking about having an assessment done, you might wonder what's going to be involved, what am I going to find out, how is it going to feel? So, there are lots of different reasons that a person might be wanting to get an assessment. And the first thing that I like to do with clients who are sitting in front of me is ask them what they're hoping to get out of the assessment. And that can really help me understand what I need to do in order to help them get what they need. So, once we go through the whole process of figuring out what it is that you want from the assessment, then we would go on and talk with each other for as long as it takes, but normally roughly an hour and a half. And I would ask you all sorts of questions about yourself, what's important to you, what issues you're struggling with physically, emotionally, cognitively, socially, financially, just all around what are the things that are not going super well. I also want to ask you a lot of questions about what is going well. What do you value? What are you good at? Who do you see yourself as? And what's really important to you? And hobbies and talents, and just get a good, rich understanding of who you are. I'll also be probably asking you a lot of questions about your history, and maybe all the way back to before you were born. And the reason that I do that is, although most of the time some of those questions are not relevant, uh, some of those questions might be really, really relevant. So, for example, if you're wondering, do I have any neurodevelopmental issues going on? And then I ask you, what was your mom's pregnancy like with you? That can give me information about whether something went wrong in the pregnancy that might be the reason that you're struggling now. So, none of my questions are random. They all have their reasons, but sometimes I feel a little bit like, why is Dr. Nussbaum asking me this? And you know what? Fair. And if that's a question that you have, feel free to ask me, and I'm super happy to let you know why I asked what I asked. So once we finish talking with each other, things can go a couple of different ways. So I may have you fill out some questionnaires. Those questionnaires will be selected to be specific to the difficulties that you are having. And those questionnaires have been given to a whole bunch of different people with different kinds of issues and different gender and age and background and that sort of thing. So I can see where your responses end up compared to people who are similar to you. So it might look at something like depression, or it might look at something like ADHD. And we'll, as I said, I'll select what I think is going to be helpful to help me understand you better. For some people, cognitive testing is also going to be involved. So if cognitive testing is necessary for the issues that you're coming in to be assessed for, you're going to be working with Sarah Mansueto, who's a psychometrist I work with, and she'll be testing you. So what do I mean by testing? This isn't the kinds of tests that you had in school when you were a kid. It's not really based on knowledge so much as how can you deal with this new situation and figure out what to do, or do the task that she's asked you to do. So they're not tests that you study for. And again, they're tests where it's been given to a whole bunch of different people. And so I would be comparing how you did on that test to somebody, your gender and age and whatever other appropriate stuff, see how you're doing. So for example, if it's a test of how quickly you can do things, which is called processing speed, right? I wouldn't expect somebody who's 60 to be as fast as somebody who's 20. So I need to compare you to the right, what we call norms, which is the data from the correct group of people, to have an understanding of whether your processing speed is a problem or not. And then those tests will look at all sorts of things, not just processing speed, but things like memory, your academic abilities, your ability to concentrate, make decisions, solve problems, understand what you're looking at, just all sorts of different stuff. And then once you're finished that testing, I'll look through the results and spend a little bit of time looking at, the results of our interview, any information that I got from any files that you gave me, like school records or medical records. If you give me the opportunity to talk to one of your family members, which is often very, very helpful, take that information as well and the results of all of those tests and put it all together and figure out what I think is going on with you. So there may be diagnoses involved, just depending on what the issue is. It could be all sorts of different kinds of diagnoses, and or not, or turns out that's not what's happening, and you're well, but you're coming in for some other reason, or I can help you, direct you. It's not a mental health issue or a cognitive issue. And then I write up a report. The report will have, the results of all that stuff that I've gathered, any diagnoses that I'm making, and an explanation of why I'm giving those diagnoses, why I think they're accurate, as well as some recommendations for how to help you get better, which is really the main thing. And then you and I will talk about what I found, and I don't finalize my reports until you and I have talked about what I found and make sure that I understood you well. And doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to agree on the diagnoses, but got to make sure that I'm not missing big chunks of things, or if you don't agree with me, very well tell me so, and help me understand why, and I'm open to being wrong for sure. Then I'll send that report off to whoever needs it. Like if you want a copy to go to your family doctor, or you're in school and you need academic accommodations and I need to send it to Student Disability Services, and give you a copy if you'd like a copy. And then that's about it for assessment.